really in terms of how I get treated on a regular basis, for the most part, things are way better than they were. I mean, from 2011 to 2013, I don't think I even had very few even just relatively normal conversations with anybody. It was just, I mean, tensions were so high. I was stalked all the time. I was harassed all the time. There was nowhere that I could be that I did not get harassed all the time. It was just 2 solid years of that. That was really hard. And like, just, I mean, the amount that I got stalked, and like how huge the vehicles were, and how many of them there were, and just the kind of road projects that were happening all the time, like everywhere that I was. And it was just, I mean, it was just like, God only knows. You know, I'm sure there were times when I misinterpreted things. But it was so dramatic, and it was so far outside the realm of experience that I had that I did, you know, and also having, you know, the side of it where it wasn't so much visibility for me, but being so much the focus of attention of like people who were so important, you know. I mean, I think in terms of like actual importance in the world, I think more in terms of people who are, you know, in office, that kind of thing. You know, although of course the other side of it, you know, people who are also, you know, respect the media, that kind of thing. Although of course I have a far lower opinion of most of the media than I used to, having, you know, gotten more intimately acquainted with it. But it did kind of get to me a little bit, and I did kind of have the wrong idea about it for a while. I mean, I certainly think for a while I had this thought of like, not only, yeah, the president is doing something wrong, but, you know, oh my gosh, I could take down the president, and that got to be, like, in terms of, you know, making him leave office or that kind of thing, and that kind of turned into its own thing. Even though I don't think that I realized that I was doing that, I think that there were times when things could have gotten better if I hadn't kind of been so focused on the parts of it that were kind of more about the story, right? More about the story and what, you know, what might happen and what I might cause from my actions, than what really needed to happen, right? So, and that was detrimental. That was not helpful, actually. You know, I still get angry. I still, you know, I've got you know, about a year to continue to threaten this president, you know, and say, in the sense of like, maybe you could still resign. And I feel like it's a pretty good time frame, you know. I mean, I'd rather he not have to resign. I'd rather that things just, you know, resolve the way that they should. But there it is, you know. If it has to happen, it has to happen. But I think I would rather not have that happen, right? I would rather just have it be, you know, that people all turn out to be more reasonable than they have been. That's kind of my feeling about it. But certainly that side of it I can understand. It certainly can be overwhelming to have that much attention, and to be, in your own mind and the mind of your supporters, to be someone who's doing something that's difficult and dangerous because you think it's right, you know, and that can take on its own kind of drama, right? So, and that's one thing. And the other thing that I was thinking of, the other thing I was thinking of, along with that, which I think is kind of more along the lines of trying to understand why she originally thinks the way that she does, I can certainly relate to having had times in my life when I was younger when I really did not know how to live my life, and I was trying. I was kind of torn in all sort of different directions. Like, you know, I didn't know. I kind of wanted to do, you know, the kind of thing anybody wants to do. You know, date and have a good life, but then what does that mean? And, you know, what kind of risks do you take, and where do you go with it? And if you're in a relationship, what is that like? And what do you know, or wanting to be in a relationship, or, you know, we all kind of have our own life path in terms of what, you know, what the choices that we make in response to, you know, the normal feelings that we have, right? And sometimes some people are lucky enough to kind of put that stuff all together in terms of how to direct their feelings and their actions when they're younger, and some people aren't. And I think that, you know, for me, there were times in my life, kind of as I got older and got to be, the thing is, if you don't know how to live your life in a way that is kind of, you know, has the right balance of like risk and safety and stability, you know, without having it be too boring, and be able to do things you like, without infringing on other people's rights, you know, in a way that makes things harder and for you in the long run, you can actually end up feeling a lot of anxiety, you're going to end up with a lot of problems. You're going to end up with relationship problems and everything. Things are never going to feel right. You can end up with financial problems. You never be able to take care of yourself. I mean, it can just kind of take all sorts of forms, right? And she has had some turbulence, right? She's had a few things go on in her past that decisions she had to make. She wasn't sure what she was doing. I mean, that's kind of what I'm gathering from some of what's been said about her, right? And for me, the way that I began to feel safer was when I sort of put myself in the care of people who were pretty didactic about how they wanted me to do things. And in the long run, it was not good for me. In the long run, I had to like just take myself out of that situation and start to think for myself. But in the short term, it made me feel like I could function, and I felt like I had and as long as I was doing what that person said, I had her support. And I think that can happen to people in all sorts of situations. I think it can happen in counseling. I think it frequently happens in religion. But I think too, I mean, it seems like for Kim Davis it kind of happened with religion, right? I mean, she got to a point in her life, where the religion got to be more important for her. And the thing is that those things really can work to help you begin to put your life in order if it hasn't been in order before, right? But the thing is too, you don't have to stay where you were. You don't have to stay rigidly adherent to the things that made you feel safer at the very beginning when your life was when you felt like your life was out of your control, right? And you're not supposed to. That's the thing. It's not disloyal to the things that helped you, start to put your life together to grow intellectually. I think that was kind of one of the major things I was thinking about over the past week in terms of Kim Davis. You don't have to just believe everything somebody tells you just because parts of what they said were very helpful to you at one time or continue to be helpful to you. I think it's important to be able even to extrapolate from your own life and say, wow, the things I love having that feeling of security. I'm thinking in terms of her, right? The feeling of security, the feeling of strength, the feeling of being part of a group of people, the feeling of belonging, belonging in the world, belonging, right, to the world, belonging to society. If she can think about how she feels better in her life now that she has those things, maybe she will stop refusing to give them to other people.